Hey everyone, welcome to B2B Freelance Writing. Now, the very first video on this channel, if you've been with us from the beginning, you can check it out. It was a comparison between B2C writing and B2B writing, and I made the case why you should focus on B2B writing, and there are many reasons for that. I covered that in that first video, and I'll talk about it a little bit more now. But I want to answer a question that a student had, which is B2C freelance writing dead? Because I sure make it sound that way. The very existence of this channel promotes B2B freelance writing and not B2C. So let's look into it and let's have a balanced viewpoint so that I will still stick to my opinion at the end that B2B writing is the best. This is without a doubt. However, I understand that many of you are starting on this journey for the first time and you may not be sure. Whereas I have written for B2C for the most part of my freelance writing career, and I have seen the good and the bad, and eventually decided to make B2B freelance writing my permanent way of earning income through writing. Let me open your eyes a little bit more on what B2C writing is without repeating what that first video did, but rather to look at it in a more balanced viewpoint. Let's go. So, B2C writing gets a bad rap, especially on this channel, all right? Everyone says B2B pays more, or maybe not, but I certainly do, and I stand by that. It's true. But B2C writing is not dead. See, the problem with B2C, we've talked about it before. They don't have budgets. B2C companies, they spend less per piece because they make less per piece. There is less demand for content. There is less need for content. There's more competition. Everyone wants to write about B2C topics. AI is replacing basic B2B content very fast. Product description, social captions, simple blog post. I have made quite some money, not a lot, but some money writing product descriptions for Amazon products and social media captions for a fitness influencer back in 2020 or 2021. And it was decent. That does not exist anymore. Whatever I produced was so simple, and there's not a lot of ways that you can just write product descriptions. They are, by definition, quite simple, eye-catching, attention-grabbing, but simple. AI can do that. That does not exist anymore. There are no gigs on Upwork or other freelance writing platforms asking for product descriptions. It has disappeared. Clients often don't understand the value of good writing. I have convinced many fitness influencers, fitness coaches that they needed good content for their email copy, which would have helped them, but yeah, they just don't get it, which is why copywriting coaches which sell to students and promote the B2C form of writing because it is just a more appealing form of writing. They have to have an entire module on sales because you need to sell the heck out of prospects and convince them that you are worth it because on their own they won't see it. The rates are much harder to raise even if you are currently with a B2C company. Okay, now let's look at B2C niches that are still worth it. It's not dead, but you have to understand why the ones that are worth it, and then you can choose for yourself. So personal finance is one. People trust writers who explain money. Usually anything money related should work. So topics, investing, budgeting, credit, saving, retirement. The rates are between $500 and $1,000 per post for established outlets. So the money is there, the budget is there. Health and wellness, we're not talking about general fitness. Real health content, that's backed by science. So it's a heavily researched form of writing where you have to cite a lot of sources. Nutrition, mental health, chronic conditions, medical research. I would find that quite daunting to write, but if you're interested in it, you can go for it. I know a medical writer. He's a medical student, and he became a medical writer at the same time. Well, he's fascinated. He can spend hours reading research about it and then picking out the best stuff. So if that's your thing, yeah, you could do that. That's B2C. Parenting and education is a big one. Parents are desperate for good advice, child development, schooling behavior, activities. It will tend to be focused on personal branding as well. So if there's a specific website that they trust, they will tend to visit that more often. But these websites, because they have high traffic, they will hire writers, and you can get into that. B2C niches to avoid. We've talked about it before, but let's go in again. Lifestyle blogging, forget about it, oversaturated. Fashion and beauty, forget about it. Fitness and wellness, AI is just cleaning up the space. Even great fitness influencers with over 1 million followers on Instagram are using ChatGPT for their emails. And guess what? Although the copy is bad, it's not affecting them that much because they already have a good audience and they have a good offer. Celebrity news and entertainment, forget about that. It's interesting for some, but no. Generic product reviews, yeah, product reviews as well. It exists, but you're not gonna get a good pay from it. So the truth about B2C, it pays less on average, that's a fact. But there are exceptions. Top tier B2C outlets will pay well. The problem is that they are harder to break into. B2B is much easier to scale. More companies need content, they have bigger budgets. The demand is already there. You just have to be, I'm oversimplifying it, but you just have to be a half decent writer with good industry expertise. They might be willing to take you on board, hoping or expecting that you will train up your skills and catch up. I remember the very first guest post that I landed via cold email, which is the email template that I've shared on this channel. I landed a guest post and they became a client. And I remember the feedback that I got was, after I submitted the article, it's good, the content is good, but you tend to ramble on a lot. But yeah, we can fix that. Here are a few tips on, some content writing tips that I certainly didn't know and learned a lot. So that CEO, it was, or the owner, I think, shared with me these tips that they had gathered from, their marketing team over years. Shared it with me, and I just, okay, I used that. I became a better writer, and I kept improving. But they were willing to get my guest posts out there, edit it themselves because I left some mistakes, and take me on as a writer because they're desperate for content. Content breathes life into their business. They need to capture those leads. They need to differentiate. So I know I say you have to have industry expertise and skill, but it really is just industry expertise and positioning yourself as that go-to writer for that specific niche, and being a half decent writer that is willing to learn, that is coachable, and you're in. Because you're just channeling existing demand, which is like a river cascading down the mountain. You're taking it and you're turning it towards you, and there is a lot of water flowing. You just have to learn how to float, how to swim, how to manage through that. But with B2C, most of the time you have to go find that river, or you find an empty river, or there's no river, there's no water, right? So that is why I advise you to go for B2B. But B2C is still game. If you have high interest and you're always improving your skills, you will get clients. There is no shortage of clients for a highly, highly skilled writer who is flexible and can learn about any industry. Remember that. Cheers everyone for watching. I'll see you in the next one, and hit subscribe if you made it this far. Bye.